celebrity over here.
What's the good word, y'all? Jets Flight Squad in the building. We got your host, DKBxJets, Italy Jet, a.k.a. Gino, a.k.a. Everything NYJ. And then we got Gunny Gumby of New York Jets Situation Report, a.k.a. Is that like his new long-term, right? Co-host for Green Bean? Thursday thick of it?
I'm not too sure. I know right now for the moment Frankie is out of commission for some professional stuff. So I'm stepping in until Frankie gets back. So
hey,
I guess until further notice. Yeah.
AKA the Thursday thick of it Green Bean co-host, yo. Lit.
Hey man, it was out of the blue, but I've been watching Green Bean, bro, for like 2.5, 3 years. It was definitively an honor. I'm like, man, you know what I'm saying? You gotta be prepared.
Yep. Oh yeah.
I feel it. What's happening, Tigo? Glad to see we got people funneling in already.
Tigo.
So I had a bit of an interesting one for us today, and maybe we can start off with like any crazy rumors and hot takes anybody has about anything. But I think we have more needs than maybe people realize in this offseason. So the essential question is, do we have too many needs to actually fill? And the obvious question is kind of yes, at least from my perspective. I think every team walks in, obviously, with a list. Nobody's going to have, superstars from point A to point B or point A to point Z, I guess. But
it's okay. I know where you're going with this. I will gladly step in and be the offensive coordinator for the New York Jets.
Hey, look.
He's ready. He's ready to go.
I will gladly step in.
I'm all for it if you don't screw this up. All I'm saying is I've seen relationships go sour over less.
Big facts. Okay. And we like you, right? Italy. We like you, bro. I don't want to.
Preseason week 2, we're gonna be all over your helmet
and then I will call some mafia people and we'll just end it there. But
I'll call Marines. I'm not worried about the mafia.
Good. I'll call everybody.
I'm not too far from
I'll call the whole Avengers squad.
He's an idiot.
I call the whole Avengers squad. Let's go.
Avengers assemble.
Right.
Hey, okay. Speaking of that, aren't they doing something different? Like I keep hearing about, like essentially they're doing a reboot, right? Because there's a couple main guys.
There's everybody.
They're trying to
something.
I heard some shit about them trying to use one of the stones somehow to reverse time, and ever since Tony Stark died, like it hasn't been the same, right? So like, and they're trying to find a way to bring him back into the fold, because they've lost a lot of market share once he died. So I don't know, bro. I don't know how they're gonna figure it out, but it's
the series one have of the been fine.
Or some shit.
I mean, the spin-off stuff has been fine. Everything else is fine, but Tony Stark was a big miss. But I could see Tony Stark coming back for like a short thing.
I don't know how they pan. Yeah, if it's short and it'd have to be something before played out. They'd have to go back in time and then go back into the future, which would be the present.
Yeah, that's what they would do with him. I feel,
but it doesn't make sense. The only one I've seen that kind of clicked to me just from seeing the comics, kind of knowing the history and stuff, is that especially after the second Black Panther movie, they were saying it's set up to where the I don't know, I forget what they're called, the Baby Avengers or the New Justice League or some crap like that. But basically,
they do that all the time. Yeah,
the second tier, because then T'Challa's son would be the new Black Panther. Then they have Storm that technically should be rolling in and all this other stuff. I don't know. Again, story's long.
It's just gotten confusing at this point.
You know what? I'll assemble the Star Wars nation. Everything. I'll do that too. Star Wars.
I'm good on them.
Star Trek.
I think this is a solid
Star
question,
Trek,
bro.
Dark Vader.
Tigo was saying, what do we consider a need? And that's probably a good starting point, because I didn't give that too much thought actually when I mentioned it. So to kind of build on that, he's saying, would you consider an upgrades a need, for example?
Yeah. I mean, there's a few we got to do. I feel like, O-line, linebackers, even safety is the most.
So define
Safety is the
what
most.
need means to you then real quick then, because are we saying like a position where we just don't have the bodies for, or we feel like we have a starter, or like?
Well, I mean, you can easily, I mean, I know some people have said this, and I've actually thought of this too. I mean, I think it would be interesting if we move Bryce Hall to safety. I mean, that would be really interesting. I don't know if the Jets are going to do that, but I think that would be a really, because I love Bryce Hall. I know we all love Bryce Hall. So maybe they can go in that direction because I'm going to give Lakin and Whitehead one more year, and then I'll assess later on. Because if we can get a strong guy next to Lakin and next to Whitehead, then maybe they might perform well. So I think if we can get something good in that department on the O line with that, and then in the safety position, I think they'll flourish. I know people are like, "Oh, what about Sherwood? You know, is he going to if Quan leaves, right?" I don't think he's that guy yet. I think he's still young. Nazardine, no, but I think we'll sign Quincy back. I think we'll sign Mosley back. But for a need right there, yeah, I think that's a need to see who we can replace there. But not only that, is Rankin's going to come back. I want Rankins back, but we need to establish that position too because JFM, I would love to just move JFM to that role. I think that'd be cool. I mean, I think him and Williams are a good tag team.
What you got, Gunny? What's your thoughts on, I guess, how you consider a need for us?
I think the question he's trying to ask is, do we have the bodies in positions right now that are serviceable? And if we had an opportunity to upgrade them, would we consider that a need? And I'm not going to lie to you. For me, the only thing we must definitively, without question, upgrade that is also a need this year is quarterback. We cannot run it back with any of the quarterbacks we currently have on the roster. This team right now showed us that they're significantly ahead of the rebuild. Had Zach Wilson been the guy, man, we're talking about, you know what I'm saying, playoffs, AFC championship maybe next year, had he shown us enough to be the guy. But in terms of needs, a need for me is quarterback, right? Whereas it's going to be a combination of getting a guy in the room and it's an upgrade as well, right? I don't want to see Zach Wilson. Though? Yeah, that's what he's saying, though. Do you consider an upgrade a need? So, like, okay, case in point, right? The safety room right now, Whitehead. I know a lot of people are saying cut him. That's not a need. You know what I'm saying? He's a body. He's a jag, right? Just another guy that can go ahead and do his part in the defense. The defense was still a top 5 defense, even with poor safety play. Now, granted, we could get an upgrade there, but I wouldn't call safety a need. I think we would like to upgrade at safety because of the simple fact that we weren't happy with what those guys did. They did cost us a couple of scores, and there was no turnover. The turnovers kind of fell flat towards the back end. So in terms of safety, I would not consider it a need, but if we have a chance to upgrade, 100%, I'd be on board with it as well. Same thing with Lakin Tomlinson. Honestly, he played like shit. Let's be honest. It was heinous, right? But when we signed the dude, we loved him. Thought it was a great sign. Was it just maybe jitters coming from the West Coast to the East Coast? Maybe he's in the year. Could we upgrade at the left guard position? Definitively, I would say so. But I wouldn't call it a need per se, right? He was healthy. He finished out the entire season. He did a below average job, but he did a job, right? And when we're looking at health across the offensive line, I'm more concerned about the individuals we cannot count on to be healthy. In this case, Mekhi Becton is a left tackle, right? He'll be back next year. Would that be a need or an upgrade? I think in that situation, it's both. Because the upgrade would be we need somebody who we can trust that can play an entire season. Although we have a left tackle there that we know when he's healthy, he's really good. It becomes a need whenever you can't depend on that guy because he's so injury prone to be there. So for me, left tackle, the upgrade wouldn't be a better talent per se because Mekhi Becton is an extremely talented young left tackle, but he can't be depended upon. So that becomes a need / upgrade. The upgrade being somebody we can depend on to actually be there. So I think, but for me, the one without a doubt must be done this year is quarterback. That is both a need and an upgrade for me. I refuse to go into the offseason or into the training camp with the same regime at quarterback.
You and everybody.
It will be disheartening, bro. I don't think any Jets fan would look at that and think, oh, great. We are going to finally figure this thing out now with the same regime as we had last year after we've seen what happened this year. So, yeah, I think that is both a need and an upgrade needs to be had at the QB position.
Fair enough. I'd probably say it's a clear distinction for me. I think immediately when I think of a need, it's either we don't have a body at the position or the person that we have in there is clearly like a detriment to that unit, right? So I think Gunny hit it on the head in terms of like the overlap at the quarterback position. It's an upgrade. It's also a need. The other ones would probably be like tackle. I wouldn't specify either one. It just depends on, what moves we make, because you can slide AVT to right. You can move Mekhi Becton to left. Again, you need an insurance policy for Becton. You can argue you need one for AVT. People haven't necessarily bounced back the best from, tricep injuries. You can argue guard. You can say center, because technically we don't have anybody there. So it's like things like that. Upgrade-wise, though, the only clear-cut one is definitely quarterback. The only other one I could probably say off the top of my head is center. Connor McGovern, we could probably bring him back easily, but there's not a clear-cut option on the roster. And free agency doesn't look great, which means we'd have to rely on the draft and a rookie. So, yada, yada, it's long. But I think that's kind of where I'm at with it. Quarterback, center, just name a position on the offensive line. I would go with center. And then on the defense, I think we're good. We can say upgrades. I wouldn't say it's a need.
I disagree with both of you. I think if you want to be a really good team, and we have good depth, but like if you want to be a playoff team and a Super Bowl team, you need the pairs doing well. Just like with Reed and Gardner, the great pair, they did well. But if one of them's off their game and one of them's not doing good this year, they're going to throw over there and they might score more touchdowns over there.
Revis and Marty.
Huh?
Marty was the liability, but he's still able to end up hold up his end of the bargain well enough. Same thing when we had to like loop in like a Kyle Wilson and what's kid's name? Dwight Lowry, like stuff like that. I don't think it's so critical depending on the position you're at. And safety is just proven to be one of those spots where you don't need to have two above average guys. If you do, then it's just kind of a luxury.
You drafted them. You drafted them, or it's a luxury. Yeah.
But I think good all the way around. All the way around, I feel
like. Just think that's not realistic. I mean, when you look like you're going to have some Jags on the team, you've got to. Especially right now, we're about to be in a situation where we got to pay Quinnen Williams $90 to $100 million. Whatever quarterback we're bringing in is going to go ahead and be making $30 million or more. And we're right now actually in the hole in terms of the cap hits until they start making some cuts and some adjustments. Yeah, -2 something. Yeah, so like it's. Every NFL team has some Jags on it, man. Just another guy that's going to go ahead and do their job and hopefully not be a liability. And I think when we look at our defense, that safety position is where I'm like, just throw a Jag out there, man. Just another guy, because at the end of the day, that front line is
so like a Tony Adams.
Meat and potatoes. Like, so like I don't think that's what I'm saying. Tony Adams sliding in there, I'm not mad about that, right? I mean, Whitehead, I don't think they're going to cut him. I think he was serviceable enough, although his coverage skills that we all thought we were getting were non-existent this year. Was it a bad year? What was he playing out of position? I don't know. I know they started off the year miscommunicating a lot, and it left a lot of question marks as to where this defense was headed. Fortunately for us, Reed and freaking Sauce were just elite, and they were able to go ahead and overcome a lot of those downfalls in the secondary since they held their man down. But you saw a lot of guys up the middle get open. I do want to upgrade. I do want to upgrade at linebacker if possible. I would love to have a coverage linebacker in the freaking on the team. I don't think right now we have a legitimate coverage linebacker. I know Quan was supposed to be that guy, but he showed that he was not the Quan of old in terms of being a guy who could cover and keep up with tight ends. So I would say this. It's not a need, but I would like an upgrade at the linebacker.
Would you be good with Sherwood though? Would you be confident with that?
I'd have to see more, man. That's the thing. I'd have to see more, right? We haven't seen enough. We saw enough in preseason and in training camp, and we all like him, like his versatility, his athleticism. When the bullets start flying, though, it's a different story, right? And I don't think we saw enough to know if he can be that coverage linebacker for us. I mean, the guy was a safety converting to linebacker, so you would think that should be the case, right? He should be able to go ahead and use that athleticism to his advantage. He added some weight, some bulk, so like he's kind of the hybrid you want to match up with tight ends and whatnot. But again, I want to see it more. Again, like I said before, it's not a need. That's why, like you just said, right? Sherwood's there. It's not a need. But if I had to pick another upgrade on the defensive side, that upgrade would most likely go towards the linebacker area more so than the safety.
I think so. I see where you're coming from, Italy, and like I see Tigo mentioning, he's kind of with you in terms of the thought process for things. So the question, and this is part of something that's going to be uncomfortable for us as Jets fans because we haven't seen a level of success in one season or consistently season after season. Really, there's things that good teams do that we'll have to start getting adjusted to. Being able to let good players go to account for the compensatory pick formula, right? And I think we've seen, evidence of that kind of the last two drafts. Other things like building that pipeline at certain positions of need or certain positions that you feel like you can just build up a guy over a season or two that doesn't get rushed in. I would look at linebacker and safety where he likes to do most of his experiments at, right? So having a guy like a Tony Adams, which I made the comparison before, he benefited from being able to sit in a way that like Zach Wilson didn't, right? It was really odd when you piece his kind of story together. He beats out Jason Pinnock. He beats out who the hell was the other dude we cut?
Nazarene?
No, you mean Parks, right? Because then they cut Parks.
We kept bringing him back on and off. So he beats out Will Parks, who would have been the next best guy we would have assumed after we looked at Pinnock being cut. But then we don't really see him all season. He's just kind of marinating on the bench. He's playing mostly special teams. He's getting sprinkled in. And then week 16, 17, whatever it is, he gets, 60 snaps. He comes in. He looks solid. He doesn't do anything that's necessarily spectacular, but the only people who would know what kind of level of excitement there is going to be the coaching staff at that point, because they've been sitting there building their fundamentals in flight school and all this kind of stuff. So it'll be things like that where we'll have to get used to trusting in the coaching staff.
What about
I don't think we have that built, but defensively, it will make more sense that if Robert Saleh was sticking with Tony Adams over a Pinnock and all these other guys, I'm going to trust it, even if we're not seeing the results right away. He'll take a look at a depth chart and pencil that in and be like, okay, I can see the vision here. We're probably more okay than we think. And I think whatever happens during like the draft will back a lot of that up too, if we don't see a safety go off in like the first 3 rounds.
I think a need too is having a good offensive coordinator. And also I don't know if you guys were shocked about Benton getting fired. I really wasn't. But the wide receivers coach is now vacant now because of the suspension. I think a good wide receivers coach and a good good wide receivers coach and a good offensive coordinator is a need, not an upgrade. I think it needs to be right.
Yeah.
We don't have one, right?
Well, and I'm saying
we don't have one in the room.
That's the next move. That's the next move.
Yeah.
With the coaching staff, though, I think that's a clear cut and like dry conversation where it's like you absolutely need to have a good staff. It's not good enough to just say I have a good offensive coordinator, because if your offensive line position coach is trash or your wide receiver position coach is trash, your tight ends coach can't do anything, then it's really irrelevant, because the offensive coordinator is in charge of the whole operation, which is fine. But you still have to trust in your soldiers, that are actually manning those positions to get their job done. Otherwise, the whole thing is really just it's working the way we've seen this year, right? Very dysfunctional. We're hearing extra news come out about all the extra nonsense and things that probably took away from us just working on, our system, our technique, our execution, and it falls to crap. So I'm not even as centered, I think, as a lot of people I've been like seeing post stuff and like checking in with fans and stuff. I'm not even as strictly tuned into who we pick as offensive coordinator as much as the staff that we build around him, because that's going to be just as critical as anything else. So, like, for me today, it was a big blow seeing that God damn it, I just talked about him and his name's eluding me. Bill Callahan. He got his extension with the Browns, so that was tough to see. But I know there's another name floating out there, the guy that's been coaching the Titans offensive line for a while. So, like, long story, but ultimately I think we need to get every single one of those hires on the offensive coaching staff correct in order to even feel some level of confidence.
Would you bring back Mangold? Would you bring Mangold as an offensive line coach?
So my original plan that I talked about, maybe
not Chad Ochocinco, though. I'm talking about Nick Mangold.
So the original plan I talked about a week ago, when Bill Callahan was still a potential option, was to bring him into John Benson's role as technically an upgrade, offensive line coach / run game coordinator, and then bring Nick Mangold in as an intern or an offensive assistant. Let him marinate and be able to do the things he can do now, teaching technique, working on his X's, all that good stuff. It was kind of like a future and a current situation that I thought would have worked out best. Bill Callahan for right now, you learn from one of the best, most experienced coaches you can ever find. And then Nick Mangold in, 2-3 years has the opportunity to kind of replace him and do the whole thing. So that was my plan. That still doesn't take away from Nick Mangold being able to come in and be an offensive assistant or whatever. But I think we still need to find a strong offensive line coach, obviously. If I remember, Mangold's only played in like 2 systems, which is technically a lot. But we have no idea where our offense is going. So I think that's also a huge piece to it for people that are like Mangold fans.
I like that what you said. I think bringing him as an intern and not the coach would be wise, because you don't know what he's going to bring. Yeah, you don't know what his style is. So I like what you said about the Callahan thing and just bringing him underneath his wing or someone's wing, whoever comes in.
It's a huge reach, but like when people brought it up, the first thing that jumped to my mind was Jeff Saturday being the head coach of the Colts. Maybe not the worst decision, but like, is that not a crazy ass jump that you just bring in a former player and say, "Hey, lead the team"?
Yeah, it could go either way, right? Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, right?
More often than not,
I do like the intern thing better though, and not just have him jump into that.
I don't think across any sport, it's always a toss-up, right? Even if we bring in an experienced OC, that doesn't automatically mean we're going to get it right. It's going to be great and all that, right? I think across any sport, there's very minimal examples of a player that excelled in his career and was in the top echelon of like his position or that organization as a whole, and they come in and that just automatically makes them a good coach. When I used to be a trainer, in like previous roles for me, a lot of people would, see a trainer and automatically be like, "Oh, that's an easy job. I want to be a trainer. That looks great." And then get up there, they can't talk to people. They don't actually know how to train. They're just experts on the subject. So that would be kind of my fear with just throwing Nick Mangold into an offensive line position coach. Just because you've done it well doesn't mean you know how to like teach others and be able to instill things. I think he'd be a great leader in like all those other qualities though. So, we'll see.
I ain't gonna lie to you. I think for me, I love Nick Mangold. I really do, but I don't want any more projects on this team. Yes, he can come through when he wants to go ahead and be an intern and help out, learn from it. 100% on board with that idea, right? I don't want any rookie coaches anywhere around. Yeah, 100%. I'm cool. I love Nick Mangold. So yeah, you can come learn, brother. We got you, but you are not making decisions here. We need proven guys who've been there, who have done that, man. I think we've already did the whole rookie coaching staff thing. We're hearing so many things coming out of, a disconnect between LaFleur and the offense and just an overall like toxic type of environment between that. And I'm like, man, it was like putting a kid in there and giving him a new shiny toy and he didn't know how to go ahead and play with others and stuff. And I think Buffalo said it. I want a grown up. I want a freaking grown up at every coaching position that we have open right now. Grown men who's going to take this young freaking team.
We need boomers.
You know what I'm saying? Like we need dogs. We got a bunch of dogs on the roster now, bro. We need grown ass dogs to come lead this pack. And again, love McMangle. I do love the idea of him coming in, learning. He could be the face of, you know, saying the New York Jets internship program into coaching, right? Whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, like Italy says, send me some boomers, man. I need some grown ass men in here to go ahead and coach up this team and get them right. Look, Garrett Wilson did the unthinkable. The more and more I've been preparing my recap video of this season, the more and more I'm realizing, like, yo, what that kid did, I don't think any other wide receiver could do, which is he still achieved 1,100 yards receiving with 4 different quarterbacks, and none of them are NFL caliber starting quarterbacks. None of them.
Yeah.
Like,
one used to be, but not anymore, though.
Yeah, one used to. You're right. One used to be. Like Joe Flacco, with all due respect,
used to be doesn't matter.
T-Boss somewhere. That's it.
Yeah, but give him the respect, though. Give him the respect, though, Banks.
It's just it's so impressive to realize. And I really believe, had we even had a competent top 20 quarterback, I think Garrett Wilson could have potentially broken Jamar Chase's record.
Oh yeah, no.
Like the more and the
hands down,
bro. Like the more I'm watching it, I'm like, yo, this kid is just savage, bro. Like, and he did it with scrubs throwing him the ball with straight scrubs. Yeah. He did it when other teams knew, like
6 games. I don't even think he got like 4 receptions. Yeah. It was it was abysmal.
Bro.
He reminds me of Devontae
Garrett Wilson
Adams.
Man.
He could be better than Devontae.
The thing is,
I just got a question for y'all though, because Gunny, I know you had strong opinions about this too, in terms of like the offensive coordinator pick and it, requiring the experience.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this because I want to say I'm playing devil's advocate, but now I'm just kind of feeling like maybe I'm just throwing fire for no reason. But do you feel like let's say we go out and we get a Nathaniel Hackett or somebody just has experience, right? We love the pick, yada yada. If he goes out there and his team looks like crap early, do you feel like that wouldn't be a worse situation than if we pick somebody that was an up and comer, whatever you want to call them, installed them, and similar results or whatever?
I think it would be worse. And the reason why I say is this is because when I say I want an adult or a grown up, I'm talking about somebody who's going to look at this talent and understand what needs to be done to maximize the talent on this roster. And if you're telling me we bring in an OG to come through and do that, and we're starting off slow, what's the difference between you and a rookie? A rookie could have came in there trying to figure everything out and then make the adjustments. That's why I want an adult. I want somebody who can sit there and say, man, yo, Breece Hall does this incredibly well. Freaking Garrett Wilson is untouchable. Hey, we're going to go ahead and keep freaking Elijah Moore in the slot. The dude gets open in a freaking, a phone booth. Like, I want him to look at the talent he has and cater his offense around the talent. Not unlike LaFleur, who said, this is my offense, either fit in it or you don't play, right? Like, I think we're going to see a resurgence of players like Denzel Mims next year, Elijah Moore next year, because if we bring in an adult, they're going to see the talent on this roster and be like, damn, there are pieces here. Again, we need a quarterback. Got to figure out the quarterback situation. I do believe that we're probably going to have Derek Carr coming through the door. I really believe that's going to be the case. But even if it is a Gardner Minshew or Jacoby Brissett, I still believe that would be an upgrade from what we currently have. At the very least, those could potentially give us competent play at the position of quarterback. And as long as you have an adult running that offense, man, I really believe that they can unleash what we have here at talent. Like, Tigo doesn't like freaking Mims, bro. But listen, when you're 6'4", 200-something pounds, and you can run a 4.35 40, and you got the hands the size of freaking 8, you got length, you can't teach that. That is not teachable. You cannot teach size, speed, and length. So if you give me a competent coach to work with the kid, and that competent coach tells me he ain't shit, then I'll buy into it. But you cannot teach size. You cannot teach speed. You cannot teach freaking, oh, I love Mims. I thought he said, hold up on the Mims love. He ain't it. So I didn't know.
No. That's what he said. That's what I seen.
So then he said, I love Mims. He's got me confused now. See, like, Tigo's playing games right now. Because my best video on my channel is loving Mims for 7 minutes, and they got 21K views. Oh, like I said before, I love what the kid can do, and we've seen him make some contested catches. He's a willing blocker when it comes to the running game. the kid does a lot of the stuff that you want him to do. The reason why he wasn't out there is because LaFleur didn't like the fact that he couldn't run every route in his freaking playbook. What are we doing? Okay.
Yeah.
He runs what routes well? Okay, put him out there for those routes. And I think the mismanagement of talent was LaFleur's undoing, if I'm being honest. And I think getting an adult in there to go ahead and show me what this team could really potentially look like. Now, again, if you get an adult in there and you see a lot of the same stuff like you saw with LaFleur, like maybe more isn't it. Maybe the first year was a fluke, right? Maybe Denzel Mims really doesn't have what it takes to play in the NFL.
Could go either way.
Then I'll believe it. Exactly. Then I'll buy it. But until then, I'm looking at it like, no, these guys shown it. They were very talented in college. They were very talented in year one. And then all of a sudden LaFleur got their hands on them and they just fell off a cliff. I have a hard time believing that.
In my personal opinion, if you bring in a well coach that can play the person's strength in the offense instead of the weaknesses like LaFleur did, this team's going to be, we could put up 40 points past. We have that type of talent. If you bring in a guy like a Hackett or like a Olsen or whatever your favorite offensive coordinator may be, even a Frank Reich.
Come on, Frank Reich. Come on.
I want Frank Reich, but I really think he wants a head coaching job. I think
I think you're right. I think you're right.
But it's going to be difficult. But I mean, the only thing that's going to leak us here is what kind of quarterback he wants to get. And he's from Long Island. He lives on Long Island. But like overall, the Mims and Moore, you're correct. It could be a fluke if he doesn't do well, but I really do think it's going to change. I really do think it's going to change when you bring in a good offensive coordinator because we have some great depth in the wide receiver, running back, and tight end position. Mims is a monster. He has been showing flashes of good and flashes of bad. But in the red zone, if you just toss it up, if you toss up Mims in the red zone, let him go get it like a lot of these quarterbacks do in the red zone with tall guys, I guarantee you he can catch it more times than people think. But with the slot with Moore and Mims, what I'm going to wait for is the maturity level. How much have these guys matured? Because they've asked for trades. So I want to see what the next guy come in. I want to see what the maturity level is. Because now it's coming out more. Banks, we talked about this. That Moore and LaFleur had fights back and forth. And he called him some certain names. That's why he got benched and stuff and take him a week. I don't want to see that next crap with the next coach. I want to see maturity level with these guys. That's why I want to see those next steps. And I think it'll happen, though. I really do.
I think the mismanagement, like Gunny was saying, was the calling card with a lot of the dysfunction that we've seen because Denzel Mims handled his trade request extremely professional the entire season. So I think that's very different from Elijah Moore. What we're finding out with Elijah Moore now and kind of as we, further analyze Mike LaFleur, it seems like square, round hole, square peg.
Yeah, each week it was a duel.
Yeah, I love my scheme more than I love the talent that I haven't figured out how to utilize it, right? So for whatever that is, I don't think we see anything close to the same level of issues. And I think I mentioned this like when I happened to catch the stream yesterday. Kudos to Robert Saleh, by the way, because to be able to keep a lot of this kind of crap in-house for as long as what happened, nobody can tell me, I don't care how this next season pans out, that Robert Saleh isn't a solid head coach. Obviously, he could use some more offensive seasoning as most defensive coaches can. I think he has the ability to evolve if, the Johnson, well, it's more so Woody than Christopher.
Is he there? You there?
I think he froze. DK.
I like where he's going. I like where he's going with it, though. I think. Oh, there you go. You there? You back?
Yeah, I just seen it like wig out on me.
Yeah,
that was crazy. Yeah, I think for me, I would want to see a lot of the intangibles that Robert Saleh demonstrates out of our next offensive coordinator. Strong leader of men, because you can get a lot of potential to turn into production out of people based on that alone. And then somebody that's adaptable, like the X's and O's and all that kind of stuff. Just to be in the NFL, I feel like you need to have a certain level of of comfortability with that unless you're an intern. But yeah, I would say like the leadership aspect, the adaptability will really be the strongest things to me, which is why somebody like Greg Roman was obviously appealing, but the guy that I've really kind of zoomed in on over the last couple of days, and I've still got to check out more names, has been Marcus Brady, I think. I want to say
I've heard that name a few times.
Coach from the Eagles or passing coordinator, something like that.
Yeah.
The passing coordinator.
Yeah, when I've seen his background and some of the extra things, I caught like a little stream from some people in the Eagles organization that like know a little bit more. I kind of like what I'm hearing a lot out of him and his ability to just like all these things, but that's for another conversation. But yeah, I don't know. Looking at some of these comments is funny though, because where do you guys lay on it, right?
Which part?
Cap space situation, is it really like a fiction of imagination for you guys, or how impactful do you think actually?
I mean, I've seen other teams like go blow by, it doesn't even matter. So like it just depends on what Joe Douglas is feeling. We can cut some people and have at least 50, 60 million to keep and to spend, but and reconstruct as well. But overall, if you're going to do what like the New York Mets have done in baseball, then that's cool too. But the cap's going to go up each year though, right? Like to have more room. So it's cool. But if we can reconstruct some things and Joe Douglas spend a little bit, we can easily do 50, 60 million.
Yeah. So Joe is saying that we can't do what we're planning on doing because of the salary cap thing. And I think that's so a lot of people are under the impression that like, okay, when you look at the salary cap, it's just, whatever money you have that year is the money you have to spend, which isn't the case at all. You can roll a lot of the funds or the cap hit in terms of a signing bonus. You can roll it over through void years. We got 114 million available to us next year. You can go ahead and roll it over into next year. In fact, I saw some fancy maneuvering that would show that the cap hit that we would have for, let's say, a Derek Carr at $40 million per year would only be $11 million this year. We would stretch it out over the next couple of years. Like the cap is so maneuver. And if you didn't watch like the Buccaneers, the Rams, the Saints, like we've seen it do it all the time. So it's not that I believe the cap is real because eventually it always catches up if you're not smart about it. But no, we could easily right now clear up 30 million like by the end of the season if we wanted to, with a couple of drops, a couple of renegotiations. We're not bringing back Carl Lawson. He's not coming back. That's 15 mil right there. Corey Davis is not going to get 10 mils from that. That's 25 mil right there between two players getting cut. So yeah, like a lot of people look at it as just like this year. That's not how it works. The cap is going to spread load the hit over the next several years. And next year we have an estimated $114 million worth of cap. A lot of that's going to get rolled in. The year after that new TV deal money gets in there. The new TV money kicks in as well. I think the salary cap goes up to an estimated 20-something%, which would be the largest jump it's had ever once the new TV deal hits in. Like the cap sounds scary. It really does. But again, talking just with Tigo, talking to Dom, those guys have actually made it a lot easier for me to understand like how that shit works. Cause I was thinking the same thing, like, man, it's going to be impossible. And I think Spot Track does an incredible job of showing how you can negotiate contracts and go ahead and do void years. But yeah, Joe, like it's actually a lot easier than you think. Tigo's not lying to you. Not only can we go ahead and afford to pay Lamar Jackson if we were to get him, right? We'd still be able to go ahead and sign Quentin Williams as well and keep key components of our team this year. So it's not as difficult as everybody thinks it is. It sounds like it is. It looks daunting when you see the number and you're like, oh man, we're negative 2 million in the hole. Like it's comical. It's not, it looks bad, but it really isn't as bad as it looks. Now, if you do what like the Rams do, the Buccaneers do, or the Saints used to do, where they're just like, they just keep pushing it and kicking it down, down the road, eventually it does catch up to everybody. Like eventually that it's going to come back to bite you in the ass. But I don't think Joe Douglas is a dumb guy. And he's done an incredible job at maneuvering his contracts to always have that third year out. And I think that's a huge benefit, too, down the road to go ahead and clear some cap space if things get a little too hefty.
Yeah, I think, I'm in the same boat. It's not a figment of our imagination, right? the Saints is really the biggest example I look at because they've been doing it for the longest. We're talking about them keeping the playoff window open for like 7 years, longer than they necessarily should have. And they even gambled this last season, you know, hoping Jameis Winston could have picked up where Breeze left off. But yeah, it's not that hard to maneuver. There's a reason why, like we did with CJ Mosley, we can restructure a contract, throw void years in there to make it look like it's, you know, a lot different than what it is. We have the post first June, you know, the June 1st
cut designator.
Yeah, we have the trades that a lot of people don't factor in if surprise moves go, where that shifts a lot of what the contract values are too. So if you guys aren't aware, you know, Gunny mentioned one, Spotrac or Spot, right? However you're supposed to say it. But Spotrac.com, they're definitely good. Overthecap.com is also the other one that I looked at.
Yeah.
And they do a lot. You know, they like break down salary caps for you. They can show you what'll happen for post June 1st stuff. You can go through and try to sign a whole team yourself under the salary cap and, you know, like piece together stuff to kind of build your understanding.
Yeah.
But
it's fun. It's actually very fun.
Yeah. The Saints alone, you take a look at their last couple of years, they've been like negative like 40 to 60 million heading into the offseason.
Going into the offseason. And you're like, oh my God. And then somehow they're signing some big time free agent. How the hell
they
are they
still
doing?
re-sign two big guys that are like 20, 30 million, and they still go out and get a big signing or two, and then maybe one or two like small guys, and then try to rely on the draft. To be honest, you could probably get away with that for a long time if you hit on the draft consistently.
If you hit on the draft consistently, facts. Like Joe says, JD doesn't roll like that. Joe, the only thing I say about that is, I know there's no like apparent mandate to make the playoffs, so you're gone. But we know Woody Johnson well enough that he might be telling us one thing behind closed doors. He's already made it known like he wants to be in the playoffs. So like it's kind of foolish for him to think that we don't know him well enough as Jets fans. That behind closed doors, he hasn't made a mandate to those guys. I don't think Joe Douglas is going to allow himself to be in a position next year to not have answers that puts this team into the playoffs. I don't believe that at all. So you're right. He has been very, very casual about how he spends his money, very, very meticulous about it, and it's been awesome. But we need a quarterback. That only worked if the quarterback we drafted was the guy. Zach Wilson is not the guy. So now he has to change course. I believe wholeheartedly, like the only way we don't get one of the tier one quarterbacks, and by tier one, I'm talking about Aaron Rodgers, freaking Derek Carr. I don't think Lamar Jackson is coming, but Lamar Jackson, I was considering those guys tier one options, is if somebody throws a bag that just makes no sense to go ahead and get those guys. I do believe we offer. People think I'm crazy, but I think we offer any of those guys the best opportunity to come in, make a difference, and win games. You've got a top 5 defense, a top 10 wide receiver room, a top 10 tight end room, a top 5 running back room. Our offensive line was banged the hell up, and it was still a top 20 offensive line this year. That's crazy to me. We had patch job players in there, and we still had a top 20 like ranked offensive line. It's insane to me. A lot of guys are coming back. I'm a big fan of what Max Mitchell showed us as well. Everybody's so worried about our offensive line. Max Mitchell is going to be back. Elijah Vera is going to be back. I'm hoping for the love of God that freaking Makai finally figures it out, and then I'm not betting on that, but I'm hoping. But if not, that number 13th overall pick, I'm really hoping we go after the dude from Ohio State, Parrish. So like, there's so many ways to make sure we walk into the next season with this offensive line being top 15, top 10. That to freak out about it as Jets fans, I'm like, come on, man, like just do a little bit of the research, and there's so many options right now for us to shore that up. But yeah, you need starting receiver, center, left tackle, edge. Say, no, you don't. Like, what are you talking about, Joe? No, you don't. We've already got a starting receiver. We've already got wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. McGovern, I know we all hate what he did for some reason last year. He wasn't great, but he's still rated out as the top 15.
He was solid. He was solid. He wasn't like really good. It wasn't really bad.
No, he was not. At edge, what are you talking about? Bryce Huff is going to come back next year. Yeah, we're going to finally get to see Jermaine Johnson. We'll finally see Michael Clemens. We're going to go. Like, we've got pieces already in play. Like, there's a rotation at the defensive line waiting to get opportunity. So we lose Carl Lawson.
Right.
Who cares? He did what, like 6 sacks? What did he do? Like, I don't think
Edge nothing here.
Nothing, bro. Like, I don't even think edge is something I'd be worried about. Safety, like I said, we were talking about it earlier. We've got a couple of options that we think could be Jags. You're not going to have all-stars or pro bowlers at every level. You're just not. You've got to look at your roster. There's going to be some Jags, just another guy playing football on your roster somewhere. You need to pay Huff 100%. I'm with you 1,000%. Huff needs to be on this team next year. If he's not, I'm going to lose my shit. I think Huff was more impactful of an edge rusher than Carl Lawson was. If I'm being honest, I would say Huff was probably the second best defensive lineman we had on the team this year, based off of how effective he was and disruptive he was when it got to we saw him do it against the Bills numerous times, in Miami numerous times. I'm salty that man didn't get enough play time early on in the year. So, Joe, I'm 1,000% on board with you, bro. If we don't bring back Huff, I'm going to lose my shit. Like, that to me would be just a travesty. I think we'll bring Rankin back. We need a guy in the middle to be able to go ahead and help.
Rankin did good this year. Rankins did good.
Yeah, he did good this year. I'm agree with that. And they're not going to cost an arm and a leg. That's what's great about it. These guys aren't going to cost us an arm and a leg. Wait, we did fire the QB coach as well, right?
Calabrese is still here.
No, Calabrese is still here.
Yeah, he's still there.
Yeah, for now.
But
for now.
For now. Until we get an OC and he wants him to go.
Dude, I would. Bye. Get someone else.
To pay his center. I mean, truthfully, the center and left tackle, I like the kid from Minnesota.
But there's not much options in the free agency for that.
There really isn't. It's either
in the draft, there is a lot of depth.
There's a lot of options
on defense and the offensive defense and offensive line. You can get someone really good between the first and fourth round easily.
100%. Oh, talking Jets with Tigo, the game he's talking about, it's the game against the Patriots, the 65-yard catch and run with Zach Wilson.
I wasn't sure if
that
it was
thing was. That's the one. I was sitting there, and it was a beautiful freaking like all hands catch, and he did another one too, fingertip catch. I'm looking for it right now because Tigo said that, and I'm like, nah, I've seen that man do some fingertip catches, some adjustment catches. Quan getting what, $2 million? I think it's going to cost us $3 to $4 million to keep Quan.
I think Quan played his contract he just got.
No, I think it's more.
No, he only had $1 million. He had $1 million contract.
He
only had $1 million this year.
1.8 or something like that. Yeah.
No, not even, bro. And
no. He was one. Just one.
It was $1 million. Just one. Yeah, bro. Like Joe Douglas pulled off a miracle and brought that man in at $1 million. So I'm pretty positive.
We almost paid like $10 million for Brown.
That's how it goes.
I understand that.
That's how it used to go.
I understand. It's crazy.
Joe, I don't know, bro. $5 million. This is the first time I think Quan's ever had a full season healthy.
No. I don't think he's ever played 16 his sophomore year.
Sophomore year,
like
16
statistically, and I think that's what launched him to get that. What was it, like a $58 million contract? Yeah. And then like he did well for that year too.
Yeah, bro. I'm with Tigo on this one, man. I don't think Quan's getting any. I think 3 would be. I would say 3 is my max. I don't think Quan gets more than that. I'm thinking it's going to be a 2-year deal.
Not a shot.
$8 million 2-year deal. Yeah, like $8 million for 2 years with like 6.5 guaranteed or some shit like that.
I don't think it's going to be that low.
I'll be okay with it.
I don't think it's going to be that low. We already have CJ on the roster, which is going to be kind of a strong comparison point. And then the boy with why am I forgetting his name? Who's the MLB that just got the $100 million contract? Roquan
Smith. Chicago Bears. Roquan Smith.
So there's that.
No. Ravens.
Yeah. Different situations, right? He's much younger. He's had the performance, yada yada. But like Quan already has the previous history of being able to go out and perform. He essentially put up maybe an average linebacker's stats right now, only playing 50% of the time. I would probably say he's in like a $6 to $8 million range, maybe. Best case scenario.
Who are you talking about? Mostly?
For Quan Alexander.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know, man. I'd be surprised.
I think that's essentially like the going rate right now for maybe like a draft, a top 3-round draft pick right now. And it's not too many average middle linebackers that's just walking around in free agency.
Yeah, I'm with Tigo on this one. I don't know who's paying.
There's no way he's going to pay that, though. Because
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Quan had an up and down year. He wasn't the best, but he just has an up and down.
Yeah, bro.
Year.
He did cost us some first
missed
yards,
tackles.
some games this week,
missed
bro.
tackles.
He missed tackles. Like we I think so Quan, I benefited from the fact that again we had an elite secondary this year. We had a very, very good defensive front. He wasn't asked to do much, right? CJ Mosley was our every down back. He was the one calling plays, making adjustments. And I know, like, yes, some guys are going to get probably taken from – it was a top 5 defense, man. They're going to get looked at. Somebody's going to go ahead and look at them. But not for those price points, bro. If somebody gives Quan more than $3 million a year, then, yeah, he's got to go. I'm not even mad at him. Go. I wouldn't pay him that. I don't think the Jets should pay him that. I would rather invest that into Quincy. I think Quincy has shown us a step forward the last 2 years. So last year, we wanted to kill this kid. This year, we were like, okay, huge step forward. The third year in this scheme, I think we should see him kind of emerge a little bit.
I'm not saying this to say this, but if Quinnen Williams didn't have the year he had this year because he hasn't been doing that great these past few years, would you kill him too? If Quinnen didn't have that, Quinnen Williams.
I would keep Quinnen. Listen.
No. I'm talking – you know what I'm talking about, though? Like, because the past few years, since he got drafted, he hasn't shown what he's done this year.
Okay.
Quinnen.
But he's improved every year, though. He's improved every single year he's been on our roster.
But just like you said, CJ Williams, right? You wanted to kill him last year, right? Is that what you said? Mosley. Yes.
Yeah. No,
Mosley.
Quincy.
Okay.
No, CJ has been a beast to me. I've not. It's Quincy. Quincy last year, bro, was a liability, dog. Like he kept going for the big hit every single time. He was atrocious in coverage. He was a liability at linebacker. He would make the occasional big hit, and we would all freaking lose our minds. I was very surprised he had another shot this year on the roster. But this year, you saw more of a disciplined, more of a patient linebacker. He was able to understand where he had to be on the field. He made hits. He wrapped up. He took a huge step forward, in my opinion, from last year's performance to this year. Oh, yeah. So because of that, I'm anxious to see because again, like you just said, Quinnen has gotten better every single year he's been on this roster. Now we got an all-pro, you know what I'm saying, in year 4 finally in Quinnen Williams. Hey, that's his brother. I'm going to say that the genetics might run deep.
Quinnen. I think Quincy's is good because it's because of Quinnen, in my personal opinion, because of their brother relationship. They make each other better. I think.
I don't know. That's still the specialty that Ulbrich and Robert Saleh came from with that unit.
Yeah, but it helps. It helps.
I'm not 100% sold on him. He definitely took leaps ahead, but like preseason to like week 5, I think.
It's about Quincy, right?
Yeah,
Quincy. Yeah. Okay.
Preseason to like week 5, things were still very sketchy. He still looked very much so like the same player. You would see splashes of him recognizing the play and then like executing and making the play. I don't think it was until like week 9 or whatever he came back from that injury that we really seen him take like that next step, which really only gives us like half a season. Granted, we're talking about, 8-9 weeks of solid production from him, but I'm hoping he doesn't price his way out of something extremely ridiculous off of the back of like half of a great season and then some very up and down stuff from last year. So we'll see, but I'm not expecting anything nearly as crazy of like a contract as what I've been seeing out here for him.
I know he wants.
I got him in that $2 to $3 million range for him too. I don't think he's going to be.
I seen somebody put out there $11 million a year.
Yeah, that's what he wants, though. But hold up. He said it on record though that he wants to get paid for what he's worth.
Quincy Williams is not worth $11 million.
Quincy, this is what I'm talking about. Quincy
said that.
He said that in a press conference.
I remember Quinnen saying that.
No, Quinnen said that.
Quincy said it too. Quincy said it too.
Okay.
They both have
the thing is this, Quincy, you're worth about $2 to $3 million. This is what is worth it. So like, I don't know what he's getting this $11 million from. Like, if you look at his body of work, that's a $2 to $3 million linebacker max. That's it. I know Quinnen stated that, and I told, look, give Quinnen his $25 million a year. He should be the second highest paid defensive tackle in the game behind Aaron Donald. And in actuality, if we made him the highest paid defensive tackle, I don't think I'd be upset about it, right? Like, he's a lot younger than freaking
You're talking about like $35 million a year. I'd be pissed.
To pay him $35 million?
To pay him Aaron Donald money, I'd be pissed.
Aaron Donald's getting $30 million a year right now.
Aaron Donald's getting 32 or 33, I think. Either way,
Really?
that's ridiculous.
Look, my number for Quinnen is 25. 25 million makes him the second highest. Okay, so that he's the second highest paid defensive tackle in the game. Aaron Donald is still Aaron Donald, and I think even
31.6.
That's fair. Okay, so 31.6 for freaking
That's Aaron Donald. 31.6.
I see where you're coming from, Gunny. Though it would make sense if the thought process I'm imagining is you're essentially saying Quinnen Williams is in whatever light going to be the next version of like Aaron Donald. Is that like the thought process?
Yes. That's my thought process. At 26 years old, I just think Aaron Donald's 31, 32. Yeah. He got that fat contract at 28.
That production is different though. You're talking about a completely different tier of like production between the two. I think 24 to 26 or like the 25 that you mentioned is definitely the range at best Quinnen should be looking at. If it's higher than that, I'm going nuts. Or, I mean, Quinnen can feel free to prove us all wrong, but like he's going to have to absolutely go like all pro every season of his contract.
It's not a body catch, Tigo. His hands extend and he brings the ball into his body and starts to run.
He definitely did because everybody was complaining about it should have been pass interference or whatever at the time.
Exactly.
He's like draped all over his shoulders. He needed to extend out to get him. Yeah.
He actually puts his hand out like this to bring it in because it was a little bit to his left. Like I'm watching it
like
right now.
I don't first matchup, right?
Say it again.
It was game 1, right? That was the catch he did it in game 1.
The first game, it was the first game.
Yeah.
When he had that 300 something yards.
Yeah, I think it was black jerseys.
Yeah, black jerseys, correct. I'm watching it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he literally snatches it like this and brings it into his body and turns around. He did have one where it was a body catch on the second game. That was the white jersey. I think he's looking at that one.
But I don't know. I'm not saying you're wrong necessarily. I do see Denzel Mims do a fair amount of body catching, but it's also the type
he does
getting tossed his way as well because he snatched a few like I don't know which week. I can't even remember the games anymore at this point. But he had one run where like he caught it after maybe running 3 yards of a route. It's probably a quick slant or something like that, and everybody was playing off coverage. And he carried 4 or 5 bodies with him.
Facts.
Yeah, so I'm looking at what Quinnen and
fourth quarter 300. I'm sorry, fourth quarter 3 minutes 35 seconds.
Okay,
that boy fast.
Yeah, rookie set. Yeah.
Yes, that is correct. Okay, he did in fact say that.
Okay, so Quincy
he said he would take a little bit.
Sorry, go on. Sorry.
No, I was reading it. Hawk brought it up. I was just reading what Hawk said. That he would be willing to take a little bit less money to make sure his brother stays on the team. If it guaranteed his brother stays on the team.
And then I heard what he's saying. They're a package deal that he builds the loyalty here. He's looking for about $5 million. Quincy. Now Quinnen's looking at between 21 to 25. That's what he's looking at. Quincy,
$5 million is a stretch. That's the peak of his contract.
Yeah, because he's getting paid 2.5, right? 2.54 right now. That's what Quincy's. Wait, yeah, Quincy 2.54 right now.
I don't see them pulling a card where they say take both of us or take neither of us.
I can't. Either way, Quinnen's playing. They're too loyal. They love this team too much. I don't think that they'll do that.
Playing another year regardless. So that's going to happen. Quincy doesn't really have too much of a leg to stand on.
Yeah,
$5 million. I could maybe see
per year.
But this
that's what Quincy's saying. $5 million a year, but Quinnen wants anywhere between 21 to 25.
I don't see this being the offseason where Joe Douglas suddenly starts to, loosen his line in the sand on what he's willing to offer people.
I'm sorry, Quincy's not getting $5 million. I mean, I can see a 2-year, $10 million deal with 7 of it guaranteed, and he can make up to that much with incentives. But I'm not guaranteeing that man $5 million a year. No, he's gonna have to really. Hey, you make the Pro Bowl, big dog. Here's a bonus, right? Like you freaking hit 100. Like he can make up to. Quant is $4 million at best. Exactly. I'm with Wild Wave. At the most you pay that man is $4 million. He's not getting $5 million a year.
25 if Quinnen takes 22. I mean, if it truly ends up being a package deal, I don't care how they work out the numbers, but for the brothers, I wouldn't pay anything over like 28 million combined.
Yeah. Okay. Tigo, I'm with Tigo on this one. I'm with Tigo on that. Yeah. If Quinnen wants his little brother to go ahead and get paid more money, okay, cool. Wait, big brother.
Exactly.
Who's older? Quincy's older, right?
Quincy's older.
Quincy's older, yes.
Okay. So if he wants his big brother to make a little more money, all right, big dog, we're going to need a little bit of a discount. And at that point, it makes sense. I'm okay with bumping up his, but because that money's going to the Williams brothers anyway, right? So at the end of the day, if he wants to go ahead and take $3 million less or $2 million less per year to push off to his bro, fine. That makes sense. But otherwise, hey, man, hey, Quincy, here we go, big dog. We're going to give you a 2-year, $10 million contract. 7 of it is guaranteed. You can earn the other $3 million to incentives. That's the way I would work that deal.
Facts. And Huff. You got to put in Huff somewhere.
Yeah. Eventually. Huff is a must.
Those are my 3 musts. Is the Williams brothers and Huff. Those are my 3.
I gotta have Greg Zuerlein. I want to make sure you secure the kicker. I'm sorry, I ain't doing that shit again.
Top of the list for me. He's literally at the top, like over Quinnen and everybody, just because we can't keep cycling through kickers.
I'm with you 1,000%.
Like Kari Vedvik fucking battling for the kicking competition for us, I'm going to lose my mind.
I'm gonna lose my shit. I'm not.
We let Nick Folk go. We let
Myers go.
Myers get away from us.
Myers signed a nice new deal with Seahawks too.
Yeah, I've seen. I'd be sick. And that's the thing. It's not like we're investing ridiculous amounts of money. He got 4 years, 10 million? Yeah. It's not a crazy amount of money. Like,
no, it's not.
I don't understand. I think
kickers are worth it. Good kickers are worth it.
Most of the sayings that you hear about kickers anyways, or the game of football in general, is it comes down to a game of inches too, and that generally the kicker is going to be the deciding factor.
Yeah. Greg's
Jets.
People think I'm crazy when I say I was like Greg Zuerlein should be the primary.
Facts.
The fans would lose their shit if we don't have a consistent kicker and a consistent quarterback this year. Because that's a must.
I meant to go back and look at this because I was going to do it for a video, but I'm pretty positive, just throwing a number off the top of my head, over the last, say, like 3 seasons, I'm sure off the back of a bad kicker, we probably lost at least 8 games.
Oh, yeah. That's fair.
Dude,
and that's probably on the low end.
Dude, Avalab Studios, we're not going to cut Whitehead. Avalab Studios, we're not. We don't.
Yeah. We'll save 7.5 million with them. I don't know if it's worth it because I can see
it's not worth it.
I think the dead cap though is like $5 million or some shit like that.
So we save 7.5. We get hit with like 2 point something million in dead cap.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know how do you get better at safety if you do that? If we cut Whitehead, Joyner is not coming back. He's gone.
Dude,
right? What options do we have at safety right now?
Just Davis and Adams and Parks.
Like that's scary.
Parks is going to be a special team. He's hitting that age anyway. I think he's turning 29. He's hitting that special teams core player designation.
Right.
I think if anything, you consider Whitehead a floor, and maybe if somehow crazy we see like a safety keep dropping in the draft that looks like he'd be an immediate better player, at least a better player in a year or two, then we come out ahead either way.
Yeah, but there's depth in the safety position in this draft.
100%. We could pick up a nice safety no matter what this last year.
There's no way. Like it's deep. Safety position's deep in this draft. It'll be fine.
You know what? I think this will probably be a solid thing to run through, and it's a little earlier than I kind of expected. But maybe we should do like a run through next week of like building out, I guess, our first version of 2023 Jets.
What do you mean? Like
we'll run through. We'll run not
season.
necessarily a mock draft, but we'll run through building out our depth chart. So like the 27 guys we already have on roster, we'll try to do free agency, I guess, as best as we can. And we don't necessarily have to do a mock draft with it. Maybe we just put the positions we'll draft at each round we have them, or we can throw the mock draft in there. Either way, but it'll probably be
doing mock drafts for like 2 weeks now, so I'd be down with doing that.
I haven't touched it not once.
You're gonna make me work.
Not
it's
once.
Been fun. It's been fun. I'm not gonna.
I bet I've seen.
Once I realized we were out of the playoffs, I've been like, "Ooh, let's build the New York Jets of the future."
I haven't, because I've only looked at like 4 players, so I'm just like,
Okay, so we talking about like free agents too?
Dom, hook them up.
Yeah.
Dom's been analyzing like a lot of the players right now in the
league. I heard you guys talking about him yesterday. I didn't get a chance to peep yet. I'm gonna have to check it out though.
Parks isn't coming back. I think
that'll be dope. That'll be probably fun little exercise to run through. I'm
100% on board with that.
Safety feels like one of those positions where
where'd he go?
I think he said he'd be right back. Unless his computer upgraded on him again. I feel like safety and linebackers is going to be one of those positions, though, where we just keep throwing bodies at and we'll figure out the cuts and all that during preseason. I think because we walked in the last preseason with like 8 safeties, right? I know we played like 10 last year. I think we had like 8 safeties up until final cuts.
We had a shit ton.
Yeah. I could pretend to be Gunny. Fact. We'll start having a backup like Green Bean and them do. Oh, his power went out. Okay.
Are you serious? That's hilarious.
Yeah. That's cool. I think we were hitting like the hourish mark anyway.
Yeah, we're done anyway. We're done anyway.
Yeah. I'll give him time to like run back in here real quick. But that's funny.
That's funny. His power went out. My power went out, dude. My power went out for like 5 minutes right before my podcast, and it came back on literally right when I started.
That's garbage. Especially once you have kids and all that, you just be like, "What the hell what's going on?"
Right.
I'm dead.
All right, so I've never done a mock draft before because I'm just not that stats and everything. Like it's cool and all, but it's not my strong suit. But what we talking? Like, do we got to go look up something?
So
money, salary cap stuff too?
Contracts
too?
I think we try to make it somewhat as realistic as possible, right? So we can go over like who will cut and like run through the whole thing real quick. I don't know if we need to add a mock draft because that could get long very quick. But yeah, like I was saying, if anything, if we don't get to the mock draft, we can just say, all right, we're all, certain we're going to go tackle in round 1. We'll just toss in,
Here, we could do like order in the court. I. Okay.
Let me see if, because like, look, I think this will work. We can do like building out. Where did it go? Hold on, let me find it.
Tigo, this is very random, but I've been wondering this for a while. What is your nationality?
We can build out like a depth chart like this or something like that.
Answer in the comments, Tigo. I want to know.
Oh, that doesn't even
do anything, does it?
Yeah. You could fill it in and like do all that kind of stuff on it. So we can just build out a depth chart or something like that. Yeah.
Sao Paulo. That's my favorite team out there. Sao Paulo. Let's go.
So I think that'll be the plan. We'll build out like our little depth chart. We'll see if we throw a mock draft or something, but it might be better to just do those in separate videos.
I think so too.
Tigo 100% Japanese.
Nah, okay. I like it. Brazil is Sao Paulo. I have family in Sao Paulo as well. And that's my favorite. It's one of my favorite soccer teams is down there too. Love it. Brazil. How'd you do that?
There's like a share option on here.
Oh.
You can share the screen. I've been trying to tinker with some stuff in here. We'll see. Fellas, to what extent do you guys think that the Jets coaching staff self-destructed and felt the players' injuries notwithstanding? I guess that'd be a cool like exit question type situation. To To what extent do you guys think the Jets coaching staff self-destruct? I don't know. Where I had to collect my thoughts. Where you at with it?
I didn't have clue. What'd you say?
Where are you at with it? So Highlander's asking, to what extent do we think the Jets coaching staff, like offensively, I'm assuming, kind of imploded and caused all of the issues versus notwithstanding players. Okay. So notwithstanding injuries, how bad or how much of an impact do we feel like the coaching staff had on us failing?
Before I answer, that's cool. Yeah, they're a good team too. West Ham, that's one of my teams. I have podcasts about West Ham as well. Spurs, yeah, man, I love Conte, but you just never know what they're going to do. I'm also an AC Milan guy, Italian, so I love AC Milan as well. Italy national team. But yeah, Spurs, man, you never know with them. But I hope Harry Kane comes back for you. I actually want to know, Tigo, what do you think about that Arsenal and Spurs fight? I want to know what you think about that. But overall, the coaching staff thing, what Highland Prime did, it's one of those things with their team, with us, is it could either go really good or it can go really bad really, really, really quick. So for us, if we don't get it right at as an OC, then because like Banks, here you go, Banks, like you know, if the offensive coordinator, if we don't get that right, that's going to be so bad down the line. Because this team is way too good on offense. Like, we just got to fix some pieces, especially with the quarterback position. But we got to get it right. Just like I've been saying, Banks, boomers. Give me some boomers up in here. Like, let's get this.
You know, I think I'm like extremely in a minority.
Arsenal, fuck Arsenal. Thank you, Tigo.
I think I'm in a minority, yo. I don't care if we get a guy that's been in the league for like 20 something years. It doesn't matter. I think the qualities of being a great leader and what makes up solid coaching and all that kind of stuff is way more important. There's plenty of recent examples, Sean McVay, all of those kind of guys, Arthur Smith, that have come in, they've done fairly well. So I just think it's going to matter how well they execute their own jobs. That aside, though, Highlander, I do think a lot of it was that the coaching staff really had a lot of issues we weren't aware of until late, right? So I mentioned before, John Benton, he's had his DUI issues since last preseason. I thought that was going to affect this season with them giving him a suspension or something, but, you know, they kept pushing it and pushing it. Yeah. We know that was going to come back to bite him, so I kind of expected John Benton leaving. Gunny's dumb. And then with Miles Austin, Miles Austin, same thing. He has his suspension coming up. Whether he wins his appeal or not, we know that's probably going to bleed into next year. All of that, I'm sure, had to play a part, because I can't imagine in my head, and I'm sure maybe he did this in his side time or whatever, right? But in my mind, when I heard the news, I see Miles Austin on the field, like putting in parlay cards. Instead of trying to like work on Denzel Mims' route running and like, you know, little stuff like that. So and obviously if John Benson's doing DUIs, I just assume those guys got demons in their head going on. So I feel like there was a lot of stuff, whether intentionally or not, personal issues, all that aside, it definitely bled into the work and the production on the field. I think Mike LaFleur was kind of the icing on the cake, as the guy that you put him over the rest of your position coaching staff. If he's looking distraught and he's ineffective and he has his own players questioning everything, why can't our offensive line get right? Injuries withstanding, right? Why can't our wide receivers get open? Why does Elijah Moore have, 2 targets over 3 or 4 games? Why is Denzel Mims not seeing more playing time with Corey Davis out? I've seen the other argument, why is Garrett Wilson averaging 15 targets over a couple of weeks? We have Elijah Moore out there. We have Tyler Conklin. We have CJ. So in his situation, I find it crazy that you have one of the best offenses, in my opinion, and we can just say on paper, in the NFL, 2 veteran tight ends that have proven they can produce. You have Elijah Moore, who was looking like one of the best wide receivers in the league last year, at least during that like 5-6 game stretch. We're talking about Garrett Wilson now. We've seen what he put up with 4 terrible quarterbacks. You had Breece Hall for a handful of weeks. You have Michael Carter, who, we weren't expecting to regress, but he looked like a strong running back. We had Bam Knight that showed up. So if you can't utilize as much talent as he was given, I think he had more issues than we are aware of. Maybe it was an X's and O's thing. Maybe it was as we mentioned, him trying to force his scheme instead of working around his talent. Whatever the case was, the more I keep diving into it, and it's not even the new news that keeps popping up, the more I dive into it, the job Mike LaFleur done was piss poor. It was so badly. Gino, at this point, we could have
the red zone. The red zone. How could you go 1 for 6 in the damn red zone when you already got good players there, man?
Gino, I would have threw you a bag out of my own pocket to be offensive coordinator last year. Like, when I think about it.
Give it to me. I want to be offensive coordinator. I could do some things, man.
It's bad. Yo, who's the damn? I was just like checking out an article like a day ago too. There was a guy that like created the playbooks that went crazy on Madden. Like, give me him. Obviously, the man knows something.
You said John Madden? Is that what you said?
No, not John Madden, but there was a kid. I want to say his name was Johnny or something. He ended up coming up with like 6 crazy.
Oh, the little kid Johnny?
I don't think he was a kid. He was like a young kid or something, maybe.
I don't remember that.
I don't know. It'll come back to me at some point. It's kind of irrelevant. But either way, at this point,
I'm just waiting for Gunny to come back on his phone.
Facts. I don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised because I don't see Robert Saleh wanting to put his friend in a bad light. But I almost would have preferred if he pulled the plug and like let Ron Middleton handle the duties, because I think he did, decent enough during the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, great
opportunity he had. I could have seen that playing out, but I think Mike LaFleur's bad job affected Saleh too, because Robert Saleh, I think, is proven to be adaptable enough. Right. He's not an expertise on offense by any measure, but I think he would have definitely went a different route if it was anybody other than Mike LaFleur running that offense.
Facts. God, we just gotta get it right. Third and 4th down on both sides of the ball were horrible for us. Both sides. Nice. But are you ready to wrap up?
Yeah. We called tonight. I'm about hungry as hell too.
Dude, I'm sweating my ass off over here. Guys, I appreciate you commenting in the chat. This is a crazy show. Me and Banks created this show, and we added Gunny on. It's been so great doing this show each week. We are going to be back on Tuesday nights. Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Tune in, 9 p.m. Central Time. That's Central Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, and 7 p.m. Western Time. But yeah, I'm Italy Jet. Follow everything NYJ and Italy Jet on all social media platforms. The NR Hour. Let's Talk Sports. Did an interview with LeVar Arrington today. Go check that out on YouTube as well. It's been great, man. Keep following us in our journeys. Banks.
Yeah, y'all know me. Yeah, I'm old, bro. I'm not doing social media. Hit me on. Put out the word on YouTube, bro.
Right.
Decent content. Right. I did check out Green Bean's suggestion though for the Jets Nation blog though. Right. And I am one of the captains over Bleacher Report for our community, so I'll try to do some things in there. But
good show.
Yeah, other than that, guys, I hope you have a good night. I hope y'all have a weekend. It's been a hell of a long week for me. I know It's been a long week for Gino and Gunny. You guys have a good one. Eat up, do the family thing, smash some cakes if you can.
Eat a cannoli for me.
Wow, let's do that again.
Peace.
Did this? Oh, okay, there we go.